Nicholas Sparks was born on December 31, 1965, in Omaha. He is a famous American writer now known all over the world. Sparks began to be fascinated by writing when he was young, but before becoming an established writer, he undertook other careers. It was in 1995 that his success began, thanks to his first bestseller, The Notebook. From that moment on, Sparks will be recognized as the author of memorable love stories, capable of thrilling audiences of all generations, and it is not surprising that many of his works have been made into movies. Among them stands The Best of Me, a novel published in 2012 and adapted to film 2 years later by Michael Hoffman. Like most of Sparks' most famous works, this one also deals with a tear-jerking love story, set in the 80s and starring Jason Cole and Amanda Reynolds, performed by James Marsden and Michelle Monaghan, and The Boys When They Were Young by Luke Bracey and Liana Liberato. The story, through flashbacks, tells us of two teenagers who fall madly in love with each other and find themselves living an overwhelming love, although they come from two opposite worlds. He belongs to a violent family with which he wants nothing to do, so since he was a child, he finds himself having to become independent. She is a girl from a good family and saw in Jason the freedom that her parents, with an education that was too strict, had denied her. After a summer of passion spent together, the two are forced to separate due to a sentence of 15 years in prison for a mistake that Jason committed. Thus, the two lovers lost sight of each other, only to meet again 21 years later in their hometown, Louisiana, at the funeral of their old friend Tuck. Both are now in their 40s, Amanda's family, while Jason works on an oil rig. From their very first sight of each other, both are overwhelmed by memories of 20 years earlier and a desire to relieve certain emotions, aware, however, that they have many obstacles ahead. After spending 2 exciting days together, Amanda returns to her family and Jason begins to prepare to leave the city, but along the way he meets his cousins and his father, who set a trap to kill him. Meanwhile, Amanda's son also has an accident and needs a heart transplant to save himself. Only later, Amanda discovers that the heart that was given to her son to save his life belonged to Jason. Actually, the plot told is that of the movie, which has some differences from the book. First of all, the location is different. In the movie, we are in Louisiana, while in the book, we are in Oriental, a small town in Northern Carolina. In the movie, there is a key scene in which Jason, taken from anger and the desire to face his father once and for all, accidentally kills his best friend Bobby, not present in the novel, and for this mistake will be sentenced to 15 years in prison. In the book, however, the years spent in jail are 4, due to a car accident in which Jason kills a local doctor. Despite the different motivations in both the movie and the book, Jason will have to live with a great deal of guilt for the rest of his life. In the book, Amanda's son will never find out who gave him the heart, because his mom chooses not to tell him. In contrast, in the movie, it is the son himself who breaks the news to Amanda. Lastly, in the book, it is Jason's cousin who kills him, while in the movie it is his father who kills him. In fact, in the movie, the fear that Jason has towards his father is accentuated, while in the book are described many occasions in which Jason tries to rebel. The latter is one of the many themes covered in The Best of Me, which is not limited to being a romantic film for teenagers, but is able to involve all generations within a story exciting and full of plot twists, which reserves, however, a tragic ending. Undoubtedly, the main theme of this work is the love that binds the two young people, which manages to go beyond their social differences and the prohibition by their families to be allowed to stay together.
I can't have you getting hurt.
I'm not gonna get hurt.
You hang around with me long enough and you will.
I don't care. I don't care. I mean, Dawson, do you want this? Do you want me?
I do.
In fact, the film, like the book, features several scenes in which Dawson and Amanda try to make it clear that their love is not as impossible as they want them to believe, to the point that when Amanda's father offers Dawson money in exchange for leaving his daughter alone, Dawson's education and calm are put aside, making the anger of that moment prevail. Their great love makes us excited even when Dawson is forced to go to prison, where he decides to break up with Amanda, not wanting to force her to live 14 years of waiting. On the other hand, Amanda prevails the love she feels toward the boy and goes to see him every day for a year and every week for another 3 years, not finding, however, either Dawson, who refused to see her. Another theme that plays an important role is the difficult relationship between Dawson and his father. In this relationship, I was able to perceive the boy's suffering in being forced to live in a family of criminals with ideals completely different from his own. His father was violent, and because of this, Dawson decided to leave his house. Amanda, despite being in a completely new situation for her, is able to have a strong empathy for Dawson, who is able to open up and tell her about his past. Once he runs away from home, Dawson meets his guardian angel, Tuck. In fact, another major theme which personally really excited me is the relationship between Dawson and Tuck, who later becomes the father he never had. It's exciting how Tuck manages to give love to Dawson, while remaining an introverted man, not showing it through nice words, but through small attention that not everybody will be able to give to a boy who, initially, was a stranger to him. It is interesting how this relationship, in addition to change Dawson's life, can also bring joy to Tuck, who from that moment on will become fond of the boy, as if he were his own son.
You're a good boy. And you're my boy.
Lastly, it is interesting to analyze how the young Amanda, full of projects and ideas for the future, finds herself having to deal with the Amanda of 20 years later, forced to live a life that does not belong to her, with a husband who does not really love her. Thanks to her reunion with Dawson, however, Amanda realized that it's not too late to change her life and decide what she really wants, a true love, like the one that still binds her to Dawson. Unfortunately, right after leaving him a message in which she told him she had finally broken up with her husband, Dawson is killed by his father. This seemingly tragic ending makes us realize how appropriate this theme is for the title of the novel, The Best of Me, which is meant to make us understand that, even if Dawson had died, he would have given the best of himself to the person he loves, in this case his heart to Amanda's son. This ending, like the entire film, managed to move me deeply, and I chose this novel because it provides many examples to improve our lives, and we can learn this from the moral values of the main characters. In fact, throughout the story, we can feel the love, the struggle and the sacrifice of the two young people, making us understand that nothing is impossible in love, even less the differences between the different social classes.